Ladles and jelly spoons, burps and gurgles. My name is Johnbonne, your #1 source for #2 games, and today I want to talk to you guys about the Karters closed beta Phase 1, a Steam kart racing game heavily inspired by CTR. Now, I'm going to go through the boring bits of the video first, disclaimers, disclosure, and once that's done I can actually give you my impressions proper. So first of all, there isn't going to be a lot of content in this video. There's 5 playable characters, 2 maps to race on, and only 1 game mode, and there's no multiplayer or campaign, or we can't really do much at all at the moment. It really is just bug testing, testing the controls, seeing how the characters feel, listening to the music to see if it really sort of suits the game, and all that good stuff, really. So don't expect a great deal from this video. I would honestly only recommend it if you're a die-hard Crash Team Racing fan and you absolutely need another Crash Team Racing game. So with that said, let's get on with the disclosures and disclaimers. Very quickly, I just want to say that this is closed beta, so anything you see or hear in this video is subject to change, and don't see this as like a preview of the final game, and definitely don't consider this my final thoughts on the game when it releases. I would definitely like to review this though based on my first impressions, I will say that. So I'm going to be giving you just my first impressions, and talking in different ways, like talking about the gameplay, talking about the visual soundtrack, talking about the tracks themselves, how the racers feel, and so on and so forth. One last thing as well is that if you want to get into the beta, you can sign a Google form on the developers, the game's discussion boards, or the announcements page on Steam, and they are prioritizing people who are most active on their Discord, Steam forums, official forums, and social media presence. And as the phases go on, you have an increased chance of getting into the beta, even if you're less active than other people. So they do plan on doing a minimum of 2 phases. As I say, this is the first one, and I would hope that there are more and more phases, so more and more people can play the game, and eventually things like the campaign, multiplayer, other modes will be added, and AI and power-ups and things like that. So yeah, so they have skipped the early access phase that was originally intended. There's been a couple of delays with the closed beta, but I am glad to say that it's now playable and I can give you my first impressions. So with that said, let's get on with the video. So earlier I said that the game was heavily inspired by Crash Team Racing, and the developers make a point about it being inspired by CTR over Mario Kart. I mean, Mario Kart will often come up, I mean it has to, it's a kart racer. But I'm glad that the developers are sort of aiming this towards the PlayStation 1 crowd who really enjoyed Crash, and it shows with things like the music and the power sliding and the controls and the characters and the attitude that the characters have, and the map design, and it's got a lot of the hallmarks that I'd expect from Crash Team Racing. So there are shortcuts, granted, not very interesting ones at the moment, but it does have shortcuts, it does have long leaps, there's so much emphasis on power sliding, especially in time attack mode. How people are beating levels in 25 seconds, I've no idea. But yeah, it seems to be on its way to being a great Crash Team Racing game, and that's something that I really like. Now, one of the first things, though, that I have noticed with the game, and I'm quite glad about this in a way, is that the characters do not have stats. So in Crash Team Racing there were 3 stats on I think the about 9 or 8 characters that were playable. So you had speed, acceleration, and turn, and beginner characters would have a higher turn, medium acceleration, and low speed, whereas higher difficulty characters would have high speed, lower acceleration, and even lower turn. So higher difficulty characters relied on a lot of power sliding and could rack up a lot of boosts, and they could move faster in a straight line. But you've got characters like Polar and Pura, for example, who are easy or beginner difficulty characters who could power slide and turn a lot more effectively in levels like Papu's Pyramid or Polar Pass. So I'm glad in a way that that's not in the game if you can't do it right. One of the things I don't like about Mario Kart 8 is how mental the stats have become, and balance is all over the place. And you know, like min-maxing is like sort of the name of the game in a way. So I'm glad that they've sort of just done away with stats here. If they are to be implemented in the future, though, I would like to see how they're going to do it. Maybe do it like Crash Team Racing, where maybe you've got characters like Coco and Engine who are both the same difficulty but have different tweaks in stats. So one of them prefers acceleration, one of them prefers turn. But here there's no stats, all the characters are completely the same and balanced, so I quite like that. It's really down to raw skill and what power-ups you get and how well you can control your character. So that's one thing I like. Now, there are 5 characters playable. I don't know how the other 5 characters will be added, if they'll be unlocked through boss battles, time trials, cheat codes, I don't know. The developers haven't said anything about DLC or but they have said that there's going to be no microtransactions whatsoever, but we'll see how characters are unlocked in the future. So with that said, I'm going to move on to controls and the track design next. If there's one thing I expect from a kart racer, especially one inspired by CTR, it has to be that the controls are tight. Now, the game's controls here are quite floaty, so I don't feel as though I've got as much grip on the track as I would in CTR. But I honestly feel as though they're good enough for what they do for now. So I still get that sort of intuitive response. So there's something that clicks in my brain that says, right, I need to power slide here. I know that I can rack up 2 or 3 power slides. And the power sliding does take a bit of getting used to, because you launch yourself very fast and very far. But you don't have as much control when you're drifting. So if you've got a power slide, you're not going to have all that much control when you come out of it. So you can't just keep racking up 3 boosts every time and make it work like a beginner character in CTR. You absolutely have to know how many you can get out before you hit a wall or something like that. And you've got to be able to make sure that you can control yourself when you come out of that power slide. Because there's quite a few obstacles in the road, like rocks and crystals and bones and some other things as well. Although some of them you can just clip through, there's no collision detection on some of them. Sometimes you can go through them, sometimes you'll hit them and you have to reverse out and you know, do like a 3-point turn or whatever. But yeah, I really like the controls so far. I would like them to be tighter. I would like to feel as though I got more grip on the road, and I would like to not drift as much while I'm going from each side of the road to the other, like for example in All-Star Fruit Racing. But yeah, I mean, it depends what the developers want to do. If they want to copy Crash Team Racing word for word, I would say make the controls tighter. However, I would say just maybe allow me to turn a bit sharper, and I would really appreciate that. So yeah, but I think they've got the power sliding down to a T. It works the same as in Crash Team Racing, whereby you wait for a green bar to fill up while holding the right or left sort of bumpers on the Xbox 360 controller, because that's what I'm using, but you can use other controls like dual shocks and I think even like flight sticks and other sort of joysticks. I'm not really sure, but I think they're adding compatibility as the beta goes on. So yeah, anyway, you hold that bumper down and then you press the opposite one when the green bar turns red, and then you boost forward and you get quite a hefty kick from it. So that's something I really like about that. And I can't wait to see what sort of speed power-ups the game has, if any at all, and I think it'll be quite a fast racer. But yeah, the only problem I have right now is that the game is a bit slow. So I mean, like, I'm just playing time attack mode, so there's not really much going on the roads. So there's long stretches of road where you're not really doing anything. Like, you can't really sort of build up any power slides because the roads might be a bit too narrow to do that sometimes. And so that you're basically just driving in a straight line, and you might be drifting left to right, but there's not really much exciting going on. So and there's plenty of speed pads though. They've got loads of those on the track, and in time trial mode I'm trying to rack up as many of those as I can, usually missing quite a few, but you know, practice makes perfect. So there is that. So, but I have to say the controls are absolutely wonderful. It controls like a dream. The power sliding mechanic is exactly what I want. It could not be any better in my opinion, except maybe just having a slight bit of ability to turn while power sliding, because I still want to feel like I'm in control. Then again, if the devs want to say that you know it's a challenge, so you got to decide if you want to be able to turn or if you want to go fast, you've got to make that decision on the fly. I'd be totally okay with that. Quickly going back to what I was saying about the tracks though, I think some of them are a bit too perfect, as in, like for example, if you have a look at Canyon West, the road doesn't really sort of have any potholes or cracks in it, and if you drive on the sand, you're not slowed down at all, so you don't need to stay on the tarmac. And I think that's something that all the maps could do with, where you, if you steer off the track, you are going to get slowed down. It's a typical racing game thing, but it's just something I would really like. Especially if you're not going to have customization for off-road things, so you know, you take less take less of a hit to speed if you drive on off-road and things like that, or you get greater speed while you're on the road but less while off and things like that. Also, it doesn't help either the barriers, again, have these clipping issues and collision problems. So that's something that I would like to see fixed as well. But yes, I would like to see things like more potholes in the road or more bumps in the road that would make things a bit more exciting. That was just something that made CTR a bit more exciting. Like if you have a look at Tiger Temple, look at the road there. It's cracked, it's weather beaten, there's moss, there's dirt in between all the little cracks, and lots of bumps that make for you can get power slides out, you can get boosts out of them. They can interfere with power-ups and things like that. That's something I'd like to see more of, and it just adds a bit more life to it. It just makes it a bit more believable that this track isn't so clean. It hasn't been terraformed to be raced on. You know, you're not driving through a racetrack, you're driving through ancient ruins. Dingo Canyon is another example of this, where you've got potholes, you've got cracks in the road. There's this giant crater that's basically just like blown up the road, and you've got to make a giant leap of faith. And if you get hit by any power-ups there, well, God help you, you're going to take a long fall, and you'll need your Aku or Uka mask to rescue you from that fall. So close to the end as well. So I would like to see more hazards in the levels as well, even if it's just things like tumbleweeds rolling by, because I don't just want to see flat obstacles. I would like to see things where I've got to move out of the way of them. There's plenty of speed pads as well. There's loads of those on the track. I would maybe suggest removing a few of those because the power sliding works so well. And honestly, I think that's really all I can suggest for the maps. Just fix the collision detection issues, maybe remove a few speed pads, and just replace them with good old-fashioned jumps where when you land you get a boost. But other than that, that's all I can really suggest for the tracks. I'd just like to see a few more imperfections, really, and flaws and dangers to look out for. If you have to make it a separate mode, by all means do it. And before I end this video, I would very briefly like to talk about the visuals and the soundtrack and give you my thoughts on those. I think the visuals are not as nice as the video previews would have you believe, but I have a theory. The reason why this is because they want everyone to be able to play the game, and because they haven't implemented the video settings yet, they are going to have everything just like low quality textures, so it's fast enough for everyone. However, I would like to see better video options, or well, options in general for a start, when the game goes live, and then I can actually look at nicer maps, because I think the maps aesthetically look alright, but there is a bit of blur to things. A lot of textures look watery and muddy, more so than I would like, and if these are the final image, if this is the final product, then I'm not overly impressed with the visuals. However, I don't expect it to be, and I'll reserve judgment until the final product. When it comes to the soundtrack though, the developers absolutely know their stuff. It really does feel like it is Crash Team Racing, or at the very least a fan tribute to Crash Team Racing, and it's one of those things where it sounds more like Crash Team Racing than any other Crash Racing game, or pretty much anyone after Naughty Dog had made the game. So it really does sound like Naughty Dog or had made it, or like once their music teams had moved on to other projects, that they started making music like this, and it sounds exactly like they themselves had made it. So I'm really pleased with the music. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I really do hope that the developers release the music separately, because I would like to use it in other videos, like I do the Crash Team Racing music a lot. I would really like to use it in other videos. I'd like to use it in reviews. I would definitely love to use it in a review of the Karters, because it's absolutely phenomenal. Please do give my commendations to the artist, and if they're going to sell a soundtrack, I will buy it a billion times and just give away copies to people, because it's that good. So yeah, please keep up the good work on the soundtrack. It's just phenomenal, and if I could play it over the sound effects, unfortunately I can't adjust the sliders yet. It's not, well, there's no sliders to adjust yet, but if I could do that, I would have the sound effects on low, I would have the music blaring, and the whole world would hear it, and we'd just be on our knees and saying thank God for this music. It's fist fantastic! So I'm going to end my fanboyish rambling here, and I do apologise for just the absolute fanaticism here, but I have not been this excited for a kart racer in a very long time. I've seen kart racers come and go, I've wanted to play them, and honestly, for the most part, I've been underwhelmed, but it's been an absolute honour to play this game, and it does everything so well as a CTR-inspired game, and as a kart racer. It controls buttery smooth, it sounds great, it looks fantastic. I can see a lot of potential in this, and I don't like using that word a lot, but yeah, I really hope that the the finished product is just going to be this, but 10 times more, you know, and that's, I think, really all it needs to do is just add more content. However, if the controls are going to improve, if the bugs are going to be fixed, if the visuals improve, I can see myself playing this a whole lot more, and I would really hope that the multiplayer is active enough for me to really sort of get into that as well, because I can see myself getting into the multiplayer of that as well. That's something I never really got to do with Crash Team Racing as a kid, but yeah, it'd be really nice to see the multiplayer in this game when it comes out. So that's really it for me. If there's any suggestions I would have to make before I end my video, the only thing I can really suggest, besides what I've said earlier, is add a hub to your tournament mode, or have like a battle arena when you're waiting for players in the lobby. You know, just while you're waiting for a race, you can just go around killing players in a circular arena. That'd be kind of neat. I would like that. But again, that's assuming, of course, that the game is popular enough to do that, and you've got enough resources to make like a multiplayer, like a single-player hub, like in Crash Team Racing. That would be the icing on the cake. But other than that, I'm going to have to get off because I just want to play more of this game. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope the gameplay tells you enough. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask me, and, you know, do check out the Karters on Steam. I totally recommend signing up for the closed beta, especially if you're a fan of Crash Team Racing and other such games. Now, I probably won't be talking to you guys until the new year, so until the next time, I'm Johnbonne, #1 source for #2 games, and I wish you all a very happy holiday, and whatever it is you do on Christmas, I'll probably just be playing video games and be sat on my arse, so that's good. Right, I'll see you later. Ta-ra a bit. Jungle Canyon rope bridges. You can go through the through the rope barriers, and well, the upkeep there hasn't been paid.